Have you ever caught yourself saying, "Later I shall do it," and that later never arrives? Procrastination is that invisible monster that steals our days and turns our dreams into empty promises. But today, right now, we are going to break this cycle, and I shall show you how. Procrastination is not laziness. It never has been. And if you have ever felt guilty for putting things off, thinking it makes you weak or undisciplined, take a deep breath. Because the problem is not you, it is the habit. Habits are like invisible chains. At first, they seem light, almost harmless. You delay a task just for today, or merely for a few hours, and it seems as if everything is under control. But the very next day, you do the same thing. Then again, and again. Before you realize it, that chain, once as thin as a strand of hair, now weighs as heavy as an anchor, dragging you down. Have you noticed how procrastination always begins the same way? Perhaps you think, I'll just have a quick look at my phone before I begin. Or, just one more episode of this series, then I'll focus. Or even worse, I shall wait for the right moment, when I feel more inspired. But that later turns into days, into weeks, and when you finally decide to act, you are already overwhelmed, anxious, wondering, why did I not start sooner? And do you know what is even crazier? When you procrastinate, you feel a temporary relief, as if you have escaped from something boring. But that relief is short-lived. Soon, guilt, regret, and pressure return, and the cycle begins anew. You delay because you want to avoid discomfort, but in the end, you feel even worse. This happens because our brain naturally tends to avoid hard work. It seeks immediate pleasure. It prefers something easy and quick, like scrolling through Instagram or watching endless videos, rather than facing a challenge. But that quick pleasure comes at a price. It steals your time, your energy, and, most importantly, your self-confidence. Now, stop and think. How many amazing things have you missed out on, just because you were trapped in this cycle? How many opportunities have passed by, because you waited for the right moment? How many dreams were postponed, because they seemed too big to start? But don't worry, there is a way to break this chain. And the good news is, the first step is much simpler than it seems. If you feel that this content can help you in any way, take a moment now to see if you are subscribed to the channel. This way, you won't miss the next videos, and you can remain firm and disciplined. If you are waiting for the perfect moment to act, let me tell you a hard but liberating truth. That moment will never come. Do you know why? Because the perfect moment does not exist. It never has. What exists is now. And if you do not learn to act even when you do not feel like it, you will spend your entire life waiting. Many people believe they need to feel motivated before starting, that one day they will wake up with a whirlwind of energy, inspired, focused, and ready to do everything they need to. But the reality is different. Motivation does not come before action. Motivation comes after. It might sound strange, doesn't it? But think about it. Remember the last time you did not feel like going to the gym, but once you began your workout, you felt better. Or that day when you were not in the mood to study, but when you picked up the book and read the first few pages, your focus came naturally. This happens because our brain does not like effort. It always wants to save energy, always seeks comfort. But when you take the first step, even a small one, it understands that you are now in the game. And then, something magical happens. Motivation appears. This means that you do not have to wait until you are inspired to act. You only need to begin, even if it is just a small movement. And here is the secret. The hard part is not doing. The hard part is beginning. The first push is always the most difficult. But once you get into the rhythm, the flow happens naturally. It is like pushing a stationary car. At first, it requires strength. But once it gains momentum, it becomes much easier to continue. Now, tell me, are you going to keep waiting for the ideal moment? Or will you create that moment right now? Because the choice has always been yours. Now, let me show you a simple method that you can apply immediately to start acting and leave procrastination behind. These are practical tips that help transform that feeling of "I cannot do it" into "I am doing it." Let's get started. The rule of 2 minutes. Imagine that you have a task that can be done in less than 2 minutes. It could be something simple, like replying to a message, tidying your desk, or organizing your school bag. If it takes less than 2 minutes to complete, do it right away. This technique works because small actions help break the inertia. When you begin with something simple, your body and mind get into the rhythm, and soon you find yourself doing more than you expected. It is like taking the first step in a game. Once you begin, it becomes much easier to continue. Break it down. Sometimes, a task appears enormous, and our mind fills with thoughts that leave us paralyzed. But the truth is, the problem is not the task itself, but the size of it as seen in your imagination. So, what do? Break the task into smaller parts. Think of each stage as a small challenge that, when added together, takes you to the finish. For example, if you need to write a text, start by writing only the introduction. Then, move on to the next paragraph. This way, each step seems easier, and soon you will be completing the task without even realizing how time has passed. Remove the distraction triggers. We live in a world full of distractions. The phone, social networks, app notifications. All of these can disturb your focus. So, make an agreement with yourself. Your phone cannot be your boss. When you need to concentrate, put it aside, or switch it to silent mode. If necessary, place it in another room for a few minutes. This way, you create a calmer environment where it is easier to devote yourself to what truly matters. Remember, every time you resist the temptation to check a notification, you train your brain to focus better. Create a starting ritual. Sometimes, beginning is the hardest part. Therefore, create a small ritual that signals to your brain that it is time to act. It can be something simple, like having a cup of tea, taking a deep breath, or listening to a favorite song. This gesture works as a trigger, preparing your mind to concentrate. For example, before studying or working, take a short break to organize your desk. Have a sip of water, and tell yourself, now is the time to make it happen. This ritual helps create a routine, and over time, your brain begins to associate these moments with the start of action. These tips are practical tools that you can use immediately to break the cycle of procrastination. Every small action counts, and when added together, they lead to a real transformation in your daily life. So, why not choose one of these tips and start right away? You will see how, little by little, tasks become lighter and easier to face. Is there any similarity with what you experienced today? Leave your comment, share a story of overcoming challenges, and help someone by sharing your experience, so that others may be inspired by you. Procrastination is not about a lack of time. It is not about laziness. It is about choice. Every day, you have two options. 1. To delay once more and stay where you are. 2. To act now and take a step, however small, in the direction of what truly matters to you. The question I ask you is, what will you choose now? Because it is always like this. At first, we think we are merely postponing something simple, harmless. Later I shall do it. Tomorrow I shall resolve it. Next week I shall begin. But that later turns into days, then into weeks. And before we know it, years have passed, and nothing has changed. The time you believe you have in abundance is slipping away, day by day. The problem is not time. It is what you decide to do with it. Now, look around you. Look at your life today. Everything you have achieved, is the result of actions you took in the past. And everything you desire for the future depends on what you do now. If you want change, do not wait to feel ready. No one is ever completely ready. Never. Transformation comes when you decide to stop waiting and simply begin, even with fear, even with doubts. Because your future is not built on intentions, it is built on actions. So, I want you to take a deep breath. Close your eyes for a moment and think of something you have been putting off, something you know you need to do, but always find an excuse to delay. Now, open your eyes and make a choice. Will you continue waiting for that perfect moment which never arrives? Or will you act now and take the first step? The decision is in your hands, and it depends solely on you. Begin now. If you are enjoying this video, please give it a like. This helps YouTube recommend more content like this, and it motivates us to keep bringing you inspiring messages. We are grateful for every second you spend watching us. May God bless you. If this video resonated with you, if at any point you identified with everything we discussed, then now is the time to act. And look, you have already taken an important step just by being here, watching until the very end. It means something inside you wants to change, that you no longer wish to live in the cycle of procrastination, delaying dreams, opportunities, and achievements. And I want you to use that energy, that desire that is already inside you, to do something right away. White right pointing backhand index, please give this video a like. If you found this content helpful, this not only shows me that I am on the right track, but it also helps this video reach more people who need to hear this message. White right pointing backhand index, shared with someone who is always saying, "Later I shall do it," and who needs to take that first step now. Because sometimes, all we need is a little push at the right time. White right pointing backhand index. And now, tell me in the comments, what is the very first thing you will do now to break free from procrastination? It could be something small, something simple, but that already puts you in motion. I want to see your response down below, because remembering is not enough. Knowing is not enough. What truly changes everything is action. So, begin now. Thank you very much for staying with us until the end. Do not forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell to receive updates on new content filled with stories of overcoming challenges and motivation. Until next time.